Good evening, guys. Hey, coming at you on actually a beautiful night here in Washington, D.C. It's been kind of overcast and rainy this week while I've been here, but clouds are opening up a little bit. I have a little bit of sun here on the Capitol behind me. It's been an extremely productive week. For those who've been watching my personal page and keeping up with some of the updates, it's been a great week for me personally. Since it was Father's Day weekend, I was able to bring Levi up here with me, and we've been able to enjoy some good time. Today was able to take him to the speaker's balcony. To the Capitol. I was able to get him to down through the tunnels and take a little Capitol tour of just him and I. And I got a picture of him that I posted today, a picture of him on the speaker's balcony, which is just really cool. So personally, it's been a very rewarding trip. And that's what this is all about, is making sure that all kids get a chance to spend time with their parents. I'm very fortunate that in this situation currently, Levi's here with me. But I'll tell you what, there's a lot of you watching this that haven't seen your kids in a long time. And more importantly, your kids haven't seen you, and they're missing out on that experience. They're missing out on the memories, the bonding. So my prayers go with every one of you. But that's why I'm down here doing what I'm doing in D.C. this week. But it's been a very good week. I'll give you sort of a recap of what's happened so far. There's still more to go. But in case you haven't heard, I'm not going to go through all the details of the commission, but originally flew out here to go sit in on the new commission, the presidential new Commission on Religious Liberty. I've got a couple of friends that sit on that committee, and Senator Jason Rapert and Cassie Doolin, the faith director, and Kelly Shackelford, who actually sits on the committee, were able to get me an invitation to be able to sit in on that meeting. I didn't speak at that meeting at all, but it was just a neat experience to be there. The committee members, some of you already know, but Ben Carson is the vice chair of the committee. Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick from Texas is the chair. My friend Kelly Shackelford's on the committee. Paula White is on the committee. She's the presidential faith director or something. Cardinal Doolin from New York is on there. Dr. Phil is on there, Phil McGraw. And very insightful. I knew that he had a great background and was very intelligent on psychology issues, but I had no idea what a constitutional expert he was. I mean, he really held his own talking about constitutional issues at that meeting. But it was a very good meeting, and neat to be able to network too. It was a very, very vetted, small, intimate setting, but the other people who had been on the invite list, I knew quite a few of them. I did get a chance to talk to the president of Eagle Forum, who most of you know. Phil Schlafly was the biggest warrior for our issue starting back in the 90s, talking about how Title IV was going to decimate families and create a fatherless society, and everything she said came true. Well, her organization actually split into two organizations. There's the Phyllis Schlafly Eagle Council and then the Eagle Forum. And some of you know I've been very fortunate. Ed Martin, very close friend of mine, used to run the Phyllis Schlafly Eagle Council, allowed me to be a guest speaker on stage along with people like a Ted Cruz and Rand Paul and Ben Carson, people like that. Really got our issue out there to a lot of people, and Eagle Council has been very supportive of our issues. Well, this week I got a chance to spend a lot of time with Kristen, the president of Eagle Forum. And same thing, she is extremely supportive of our issues and said the same thing. They're having a national conference here in D.C. in October. They're going to have a lot of members of Congress speak. They're going to have members of the White House in, and she told me the same thing. She said, let me know if you'd like. I'll definitely get you on the stage to speak, and would love to be able to help you raise awareness for your issue. So looks like I'll be back up here in October again, hopefully more than that, and you'll find out why I need to come back before that. That was a very good meeting. Then after that, I had some meetings on the Hill, on the House side, with a couple of caucuses, and there's a couple of moves that we need to make in Washington, D.C. One is an executive order, and that's why I've been having my meetings at the White House. The challenge is with an executive order, that's good for another 3.5 years. The challenge is if a new administration were to come in, they would probably on day 1 or 2, if they were of the opposite party, immediately wipe out any executive order on day 1. So it's a very short-lived thing, but it is something I'm definitely pursuing. The stronger one is to make statute changes at the congressional level. So the challenge is there's 463 members of the House and 100 members of the Senate. Normally you don't get to meet with the legislator too much. There's just too many issues for them to try and handle. They can't handle 8,000 or 10,000 issues and be knowledgeable on all of them. So normally they have staff that are policy directors on different issues. So they'll have budget policy directors, they'll have family policy directors, education policy directors, and ours would fall under a family policy director. So for each one of those, you've got to educate, so now there's 540 36 staff members minimum, and that's just if there's one per staff. At the Senate, you've got to educate a chief of staff, you've got to educate a policy director, a legislative director, and the family person. So you're looking at as many as 5 people just per senator on the Senate side. So there's just too many. So it's much easier to go for caucuses. And some of you know, there's the Congressional Black Caucus, there's the Freedom Caucus, there's a bunch of different caucuses that they have. It's much easier to get a caucus because if you get a caucus, you'll get 20, 40, 60, 80, 100, 150 votes in one block for the most part if you do it right. Now, it takes a while to get these caucuses. You're not going to do it in one meeting. Traditionally, you're going to have 5, 10 meetings with a caucus before you get them on board with supporting and being unified that, hey, as a block, we're voting for this. I've already made some inroads with 2 of the caucuses, but the one I made the most inroads today with is probably the best one for us. It would handle our type of an issue, and more importantly, very supportive. I met with the director of the caucus over on the congressional side, and this was the second meeting that I've had with him. And I mean, unbelievably supportive, to the point where he says, okay, I need you to get me a draft, and I need you, let's go ahead and get this filed. Let's start working on some co-sponsors right away. And we believe we're going to start right out of the chute with a minimum of potentially 40 co-sponsors right out of the chute. Guys, this is huge. So this, to be honest, I'll tell you in a minute about the White House. And the White House is big, and it was great and very exciting. But guys, I think this was almost even more exciting. And ironically, this was like an add-on. The first part of this trip was supposed to be the commission meeting. Then I got the add-on of the White House meeting. And this was an add-on of the add-on. And it turned out, guys, this could be huge. I mean, we're literally to the point. Some of you know I started talking 8 years ago when I came up here that, hey, it was going to be a process. And so I think I say Brian Lee on here. Brian might remember, but in Facebook Live, after Facebook Live 8 years ago, I was telling people, guys, it's going to be a long process. It could be, 5, 7, 10 years in the process, and we may not even be able to start for 5 to 7 years. Well, guys, I'll tell you what, the time to start is now, and we are now finally to the point where we've done the groundwork. We've met with dozens of legislators. We've done everything we need to do. Now it's time to start filing a bill, and I'm very, very excited. That is huge, guys. Huge, huge, huge. So my specialty is negotiating and understanding the culture, because when you come to Washington, D.C., you've got to understand the culture. We have people that if they don't do their background, and you can't do the background in 10, 20, 30, or even 100 hours. This takes hundreds of hours to understand the culture up here in D.C. There's certain legislators that can't stand other legislators. There's certain ones that don't like certain caucuses, that don't like certain organizations. So you've really got to do your homework to understand who likes who to mention when you're in certain offices, who not to mention when you're in certain offices. That's my specialty, is not to brag, but that's what I know. I know how to do that. Just like if you're in baseball, whoever the pitcher is, you trust them to be able to make the pitches. But you also have to trust the person on first base to do their job. Well, my role is understanding the culture up here, knowing who to talk to, maneuvering through the maze. But now's the time when I can start bringing a team up. Till now, most of the meetings every meeting I kept here, it was primarily me. Now I'm kind of excited because now I'm going to be bringing teams of people with me, and these are some of the experts on policy. And there's a very, very short list of people that I trust to do this with at this point. We need people that are vetted, people that understand the issue, people that are around and have a tenure of a very long time. And I'm not talking 3 or 5 years. I need people minimum 5 years or longer, but hopefully 10 to 15 years, because they've got to understand some of the culture. But a few of the people I do plan on bringing up on some of these visits, people like a Ron Henry, and I hate to mention names because I'm going to leave people out, but people like a Ron Henry, a George Peace-Gore, a Don Hubin, a Brian Ulrich, a Phil Creed, a Bob Thompson, Ed Bartlett, and I may have left a couple, Molly Olson, but these are the type of people now. The table's been laid. I'm going to start bringing some of these people up here to start having some of these meetings. So we talked about the commission, we talked about the caucus, we talked about the House. There's 2 more neat things, the best of which is the White House. And this is the one thing that symbolically means the most, because yeah, it's neat to meet with Congress, but there's 535 members of Congress. There's only one person in the White House, and that one person carries a lot of influence. If they like your issue, they can push it. Now, we've got a ways to go there. I don't want people to think that, oh, Mark had a meeting at the White House today. The announcement I'm going to make is that Trump walked in the room and was razzle-dazzled and wrote an executive order. No, it didn't happen. Not at all, guys. I didn't meet with Trump at all, okay? I met with his staff, part of Vince Haley's staff. Vince is the domestic policy advisor. Some of you know I met with Vince when I was back here in town. I guess it was about 2 months ago, and he had some people he wanted me to meet with, so that's who I met with on this trip. But it did go very well. This is going to be a definite process, so this for sure is not like a 1, 3, or 5 meeting process. We're talking about potentially 10, 15 meetings to really get some meaningful change within the White House. But the meetings are started. To my knowledge, I just don't know of too many meetings that have taken place at the White House for the shared parenting community. And some of you saw I did a Facebook Live where I went from the executive building down to the West Wing. And so some of you could see what is it like to be backstage back there, if you will, and going into the West Wing. So it's kind of neat. Yeah, security is just crazy there. Secret Service people everywhere. And as I was there, J.D. Vance is coming out, so they asked everybody to move away a little bit so that they could clear an even bigger space for J.D. Vance to come out and down. So it was kind of a neat experience. But the meeting, though, did go very well. Not as well as I had hoped, but definitely not bad at all. It's just, you have these visions in your head that they're just going to be, man, this is great. Sort of like the meeting went with that caucus. Like I said, that caucus meeting was great. The guy's nodding his head. He's asking questions. He's interacting. He's making statements that are powerful, because the director of a caucus doesn't lightly say, hey, let's start drafting a bill. That's a powerful statement for the director of a caucus to say. So that was powerful. This didn't go anything like that. It was more of a just listening to our issues. Now, the one thing that worked out very, very well for us, and this is a huge positive, is some of you know Title 4D is a program set up through HHS. And so he said, hey, we're definitely going to need to involve HHS, because the first thing that the president's going to ask is, since it's an HHS program, what does HHS think about this? So he said immediately, but the next meeting that needs to take place is you meeting with HHS before I meet back with you again, and then we need to check the pulse of HHS. Well, the funny thing, the ironic thing, or the God thing, if you will, is he says there's a specific person at HHS that the president likes to hear from and likes his advice, and he gives me the name of the guy. And guys, I'll tell you what, this is a God thing. I know this guy. I've known him for probably 8 years, I think. I've met with him a lot of times. He knows Levi. And I could not believe when he gave me the name. I'm like, are you serious? I said, I know him. And he said, I was kind of thinking that you might, because I won't tell you how, because unfortunately some people watch these Facebook Lives, and I don't know if they want their 15 minutes of fame or what, but they start calling up people that I've met with and trying to schedule meetings. And guys, please don't do that. When we're at this high of a level, that comes across very bad, very unprofessional to the legislators and to people in the White House. So please don't be doing that. So sadly, I can't mention the names of the people I'm meeting with anymore, because we get too many wannabes that start calling these people up. So please don't do that. But it is really neat that the person at HHS that is the main contact for Title 4D reform is somebody I've known for 8 years. So normally, the first time you meet with somebody, you're trying to build a relationship and get past them to where you can finally talk about the issues. We've done that. So this is kind of neat. So I will be back up here in Washington when I can get the funds. And I hate to always be asking for money, but as most of you realize, this takes a lot of money. It was neat. We had that Missouri hearing a couple months back, and we had several people that came to Jeff City from different parts of the state. Actually, I had the advocate come in too, but 2 of the people that had come in from different areas of Missouri, and all they had to pay for was one night of a hotel and some gas. And they made the comment, they were like, oh my gosh, this is $108 for a hotel stay. And I'm like, now you understand why I'm always asking for money, because when you go to Washington, D.C., you're not going to find a hotel for $108. You're talking $300 a night, and then you're talking airfare. And if you're getting a last-minute airfare, like I got for this trip, you're talking $650. That starts adding up for these trips. And when you consider all the trips that I've been making around the country, I don't have the funds. So my hope is that we can work as a team. If you don't have the contacts, the knowledge, and the time to take to come to D.C., but I do, can we use some of your money to help get me up here? So I did put all my information up there. If anybody can contribute, would greatly appreciate it. I don't know if Vincent's on this thread yet or not, but a lot of times Vincent puts my stuff on there for me. But the PayPal is starnetmark@yahoo.com. So starnetmark@yahoo.com for PayPal. The Venmo, Mark-Ludwig-18. And then you'll need the 0977 to do the friend-to-friend. Cash App is $, STL Mark Ludwig. So I don't know, Vincent, if you're there, or if Scott Field is there, if you guys can put that in, I would greatly appreciate it. But if anybody can contribute, it would really help. So anyway, getting back to the meeting. So there's actually two components when we're dealing with the administration. There's the HHS component and the White House component, but they work hand in hand. So you don't just meet with just the White House. They're immediately going to be asking for input from HHS. So it just is really neat that we've got contacts, and it is neat too. When I was at the White House, how many friends that I have working there was kind of neat. We're up to 12 people now that I knew before they started working at the White House. So that helps too when you've got that many connections, points of contact. It helps give you leverage, credibility, and influence when you have meetings up there. So, like I said, we're making great progress. The commission meeting went well. The meeting with the caucus on the House side went well. The meeting at the White House went well. Looks like HHS meetings are going to go very, very well. Tomorrow's the end of the meetings. I'll be meeting with Eric Schmidt, the U.S. Senator from Missouri. Levi's actually been to his house years ago, so I want to get an updated picture of him with Levi while we're over there tomorrow morning. And then after that, I'll be meeting with Tom Cotton's staff from Arkansas, and then we head back tomorrow night. But all in all, like I said, guys, it was just a great week up here. One of the most productive that we've ever had as a community. And I hope you realize it's about the message, not the messenger. So I don't want people walking out of there saying, man, Mark had a great trip. No, the shared parenting community had a great trip. It's not about the person, it's about our message getting out there and our message making progress so that our kids don't have to go through what we're going through. But it has been a very, very productive trip up here. So a couple things coming up is the National Equal Shared Parenting Conference coming up on June 29th. That'll be that Sunday afternoon. This year it's virtual and it's free. So you don't have to fly anywhere and pay airfare and hotel. You don't have to pay conference fees. All you got to do is log on to my personal Facebook page right here. Or the backup channel that day is my YouTube channel, so please subscribe. It's free to subscribe to the YouTube channel at STL Mark Ludwig. So STL Mark Ludwig on YouTube. Please subscribe, because if there's a glitch on Facebook, which happens every once in a while, I don't want people missing the conference. So the backup that day is going to be YouTube. But we've got a dynamite thing laid out. Brian Lee is helping with so many logistics. I am so grateful for him. We gave him a task that is just huge. So really grateful to Brian Lee. Nicole Anderson has been helping create all the memes, all the graphic memes you see. Obviously, I don't have the skill to do that. So really grateful to Nicole for that. Some of the speakers, I just jotted down a couple of names, and I apologize because I know I'm leaving names off, but it's a who's who of the shared parenting community on June 29th. Literally, the biggest leaders from across the country are all going to be on that virtual live on June 29th. We have Summer Johnson from New York, Elizabeth McNeese from Ohio, Don Hubin from NPO. Don's going to be interviewing Dr. Warren Farrell. They're going to do a 20-minute interview. We've got Danica Dockery from Hope for Families. We have Carnell Smith, the paternity fraud expert. We have the Dadvocate. She's going to help me MC that day. We have Brian Vandiver from Arkansas Advocates for Parental Equality. We have Cheryl Mefford for the parental alienation. I don't know if you'd call her an expert, but I think she's an expert. She's from Missouri. She wrote a great book that I highly recommend, by the way. We have Chris Batchelor from Kansas, who's also with NPO. We have Jared Mazezek from West Virginia, who helped get that West Virginia, which is a great bill, passed. We have Ryan Powell from The Unmarried Father. Ryan has been doing a great job helping me get the word out on social media. Ryan, along with the Dadvocate, they both have a great reach. So I appreciate Ryan always helping there. We've got Representative Jamie Flick from Pennsylvania. We've got Representative Gil Gatch from South Carolina. We've got Representative Rick Metzger from Maryland. Senator Patricia Rucker from West Virginia, Senator Jim Runstead from Michigan, Representative Jamie Ray Gregg from Missouri that sponsored the Big Fathership Bill. We've got Taylor Ray Jones, who, Taylor, I don't know if you're watching, but Taylor made a great post today that I want to get with her because I think her testimony could be powerful, talking about growing up as an alienated child and what she missed out on. So great post today, Taylor. Brian Ulrich. Brian is one of the experts on Title 4D, so he'll be coming up on some trips up here for me. We have Carl Roberts from Colorado, and Carl does a great job on defense in Colorado because they had some bad bills up there this year. We have Kathleen Arthur, Kathleen started out as more of an expert on CPS issues, but she does know quite a bit about Title 4D. And I apologize if I left anybody out. I know we've got about 30 people that are coming on the 29th, and I know I've left some people out. It wasn't intentional. But that's about it. So if anybody's interested in being a sponsor, obviously one of the goals of that day is to try and raise some funds because we're going to need a lot of trips up here. And there's some neat things that we want to do that if we had the funds would really help. You know, we're going up against an army of people like the Bar Association. You know, you've got Family Research Council, it's on our side, but you know, they have like a $24 million budget. You've got Americans for Prosperity with a $74 million budget. And here I am on a shoestring, ragtagging, you know, money here and there to get a hotel stay here and airfare here. Can you imagine if we really put together some funds to do some powerful things with some of these legislators? Well, Jamie Ray Gregg, who's the sponsor of the fathership bill in Missouri, he's going to have a huge active role next year. You're going to start hearing his name a lot. He is a great person to work with. But we've got some neat things planned that we want to be doing next year. But most of those are going to take some pretty large funds for some of these receptions that we're considering putting together. So if anybody is interested in being a sponsor at a $250, a $500, or a $1,000 level for the conference on the 29th, shoot me a private message or send me an email to thestarnetmark@yahoo.com. and let me know if you're interested in being a sponsor. We're looking for $250, $500, or $1,000 sponsors so that we can raise some serious funds to start doing some really neat things this summer. But all in all, like I said, it was a great productive week. I appreciate every single one of you. I hope that you literally in your mind picture you being here, even though, yeah, obviously it's me here. But as I always said, it's about the message, not the messenger. So this isn't about me. This is about us being here. And I hope that you guys feel that you were here, especially those of you that contributed. You really were here, because this trip would not have taken place if you guys hadn't contributed. Because I did not have the money for this. We haven't raised enough money for the whole trip yet. So if anybody can contribute some more, I'd greatly appreciate it before the credit card bill comes in. But all in all, a great week. Like I said, guys, we made great connections at that Commission for Religious Liberty. A great meeting with a major caucus that we need that is literally ready to sponsor a bill and will potentially have 30 to 40 co-sponsors of that bill right out of the chute. Great meeting at the White House. The door is open to more meetings at the White House. The door's already been open to our connection that we need for Title 4D reform at HHS. And it turns out it's a personal friend of mine that I've known for 8 years. And then more meetings going on tomorrow. So all in all, a kick-butt week here, guys. So thank you very much. I appreciate every single one of you. And let's remember, guys, let's keep it focused on the reason we're doing this is for the kids and making sure that our kids, and that's why I was glad to have Levi up here. And I don't have Levi sitting on the meetings with me. I never allow him to do that, but he doesn't really want to anyway. He thinks the meetings are boring anyway, so he normally sits outside the room playing either Clash Royale or Pokemon is what he's been playing today. So he has a good time, and I enjoy it because we get some good father-son memories. And it helps me remember, too. I always tell people, remember your goal, because so many times I see people that are advocates, and I see them posting more pictures of themselves than pictures of their kids. Now, some of you don't have access to your kids, so you're not able to do that. But if you're able to, and you see your kids, is the goal for you to be with the kids or to be famous? So make sure you're always keeping your eye on those kids. Always remember that, and I try to consciously think of that. That's why I loved having Levi up here. And some of you saw I posted the picture of him on the balcony of the speaker's, literally right over there, the speaker's balcony, where it looks down and you see the Washington Monument and you see the Lincoln Memorial behind him. And I'll tell you what, guys, that meant more to me than the meeting at the White House. To see my son and have my son with me and have a picture that I'll be able to have for the rest of my life. So remember those kids, guys. That's the whole reason we're doing it. And also remember those people who aren't seeing their kids right now. And that's what I try to remember, too, as I do this. Why am I doing this? Even though now, in the last year, Levi's mom has gotten remarried, and they've got a couple homes in Pennsylvania, and so they travel all the time between the Pennsylvania homes and St. Louis home. And so I've gotten a lot of extra time. But I'll keep doing this till the day I die, because I'm not doing this for me. I'm doing this because somewhere out there is a dad sitting on a couch like I did 15 years ago, wondering if he can go one more night. And I promise you guys, I'll remember that until the day I die, and I'll be fighting with you along with a lot of other people that I see on this thread doing the same thing. So thanks, guys. Appreciate every single one of you, and I will probably do one last one tomorrow before I head out of town. Thanks, guys.